We probably should have never given him a microphone.
Yeah.
That was our mistake.
That was the dumbest shit ever.
Well, not the dumbest.
Like,
I mean, you're here. So.
you know, you don't fucking mean that. You just play hard to get for the show. It's all an act. I want you all to all know that it's all an act. Dan's actually usually really nice to me.
Yeah.
We're like best friends.
I don't know about all that. We hold hands a lot.
Yeah.
But that's mostly just because I'm scared.
Well, like you hold my hand when, like, usually make me hold your pocket.
Yeah, but that's only if other dudes are around.
Yeah, that's true.
So they know that you belong to me.
Yeah, that's good. What have you been doing all week? What'd you do this weekend?
What did I do this weekend? Oh, we went, myself, Ross, and Joel went to Nashville to do the final taste test of Hard AF Seltzer. Mm-hmm. It's fucking delicious.
Is it?
Yeah, it's really, really good.
What's the flavors?
Let's see. There's peach, strawberry shortcake, lemon lime, and blueberry. Or blueberry? Is that what it is?
Blue raspberry.
Blue raspberry. I don't like that word. I feel like we need to come up with a new language other than English because English is fucking stupid.
Dude, I'll tell you the other word that I found is really hard for me is asks.
What'd you say, axe?
Ask. I say ask. So, but throw an S on it for me.
It just sounds the same.
It does, but
unless you like over enunciate and then what are you, a snake? Why are you saying all the time? Fuck that.
I don't know. It's fucking stupid, but
it is stupid. And try to like people who have people who stutter. Stutter is a weird word. Say the word stutter and then stutter.
Stutter?
Like it seems like the kind of word you would stutter on.
Stutter?
I don't know.
That's weird.
Maybe I'm wrong.
They made it onomatopoeia.
Yeah, basically.
You want to talk about what's crazy is...
And why isn't the word dyslexia spelled upside down? We're doing nothing to help these people.
Yeah. Yeah, Dan. You're right. You're right. I think that... yeah, I don't think much.
No, you don't. You sure don't. Obviously. You just fucking blanked out in the middle of a sentence there, Joe Biden. What the hell happened?
Don't you call me Joe Biden.
Well, start a war with Ukraine, and then I'll call you Joe Biden.
Okay, Dick Cheney. Yeah, keep going. Yeah, keep going.
I actually lit his ass up. I wrote an op-ed for Newsweek that's going to be out, I think, tomorrow. Fucking Dick Cheney. I've never seen anything so surreal in my life as Dick Cheney, all these liberal Democratic politicians walking up to Dick Cheney to shake his hand. Like 15 years after they tried to put him on trial for war crimes. Like he was the worst person ever. He was the Trump of that generation. Like people were like, oh, fuck Bush, that whole thing, blame Bush. But people hated Dick Cheney. And now all of a sudden they're all buddies again. And you know why? It's because there's money to be made. This is all political theater.
Yeah, hell yeah. Like, I mean, listen, he's got to get in there with the Democrats to get us in Ukraine. Start making that money.
He sure is trying, isn't he?
Hell yeah.
Now, I don't know what happened to him after he left the Naval Observatory, but I assume
I'll tell you what, I wouldn't go hunting with him.
No, I assume he picked up stock in back up in the companies that he used to work with, right? So he went from Secretary of Defense to, well, I think Congressman, then Secretary of Defense, and then owned major parts of defense companies, multiple defense companies, including Halliburton, and then to Vice President, started 2 of the longest wars in U.S. history, and then now he's back with Democrats who are now trying to start another war.
Yeah.
So why is this guy still walking around?
Well,
why is he still breathing air?
Man. But at the end of the day, Dan, I love your rambling over there, but that's not what we came here to talk about.
Yeah, it is. We're here to talk about war, bitch.
Yeah. I'm not against I'm not for war. I'm about peace. See this?
There was a heckler at a Reagan event, and they were saying "Make love, not war," and Reagan said, "You don't look like you're capable of either." That's a pretty good quip.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that what you'd tell me?
What's that?
That I don't look like I'm capable of either?
I haven't seen you have sex yet.
You haven't?
No, not with a woman.
Yeah. Well, I don't. I'm really saving myself for marriage.
Cool. Well, you already kind of did that. So.
But again, like, you know what I mean? Like you get, after you get divorced, you get a clean slate. Like you get a clean slate and you start over.
Is that how it goes?
Is it not?
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like,
I mean, where's the rule book for this? Where are you getting this from?
dude, you like everybody knows this. Like, it's, I mean, obviously, I mean, you don't have the book because you've never been divorced, but only like us divorced people, we get the rule book. You know what I mean?
Cool. They just mail it to your house. Like Stork brings it or something. Shut the fuck up,
dude. It's
so we're talking about shut
society.
up. We're talking about Ukraine today. Rising tensions. Everybody's kind of curious why. Who gives a shit about Ukraine? Why are we there in the first place? Like, we're talking about evacuating Americans from there. Why are they there in the first place?
Yeah,
You know
why?
what I mean? So we're going to do a little background on that today. Talk about some of the dumb shit that's led to this, why it's completely unnecessary for us to intervene. And then on Friday's show, we're going to talk about something that everybody seems to have fucking memory hold. Like, everybody seems to have forgotten about this fucking half-decade-long corruption scandal for Joe and Hunter Biden that took place where? Ukraine. What the fuck? And now all of a sudden we're trying to go to war there. Isn't that bizarre? Is nobody fucking putting the pieces together here?
Yeah.
Son of a bitch.
It's fucking nuts. Ain't it?
Anyways, so on January 14th, U.S. officials accused the Kremlin of sending saboteurs into eastern Ukraine to create a provocation that could serve as a pretext for invasion. The the Biden administration did not release details of the evidence it had collected, but Jen Psaki claimed the operatives were trained in urban warfare and explosives. And then she told them, you know, if they're unhappy about things in Ukraine, they should just take a kickboxing class or have a margarita.
I mean, I just don't understand, like, why the fuck they even, like, why stay out of it? It's almost like the United States of America with this is sitting back and, like, stoking. Like, it's like, okay, well, if they're not going to fight, like, we're gonna build a narrative.
Yeah,
to where they have to fight.
I'm hearing from a lot of really smart people that Russia is not going to invade.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens. During the press conference, Jen Psaki, who is a fucking bumbling idiot, said Russia is laying the groundwork to have the option of fabricating a pretext for invasion by accusing Ukraine of preparing an imminent attack against Russian forces in eastern Ukraine. Now, let's be really clear from the get-go. The Ukrainian government is about as corrupt as a government can be, right? It is, in the area they're talking about, where the Russian troops are assembling, is already more or less controlled by Russia and has been since 2014.
Yeah.
Right, so this is nothing new. So, according to the press briefing, the Russian military planned to begin these false flag operations several weeks before a planned military invasion, which could begin between mid-January and mid-February. The allegations were clearly part of a strategy to try to prevent an attack by exposing it in advance, or that's what they telegraphed. Anyways, on Tuesday, Russia announced a series of military drills along its borders, spanning from the Pacific Ocean to the Ukrainian border. But this, again, is not new.
This is all shit. They do it all the time.
Yeah, Russia was running, if you recall in August when we were pulling out of Afghanistan, they were right across the border, right? Fucking doing military exercise. This is what they do. So, excuse me. The maneuvers involve tanks, drones, and ground troops ranging from regular infantry to highly trained paratroopers. You're welcome. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, they also included 3 Navy ships taking part in joint drills with the Chinese fleet in the Arabian Sea.
I mean, but we run drills all the time.
Mm-hmm. We're doing it. We're doing it right now. We have 3 ships over there right now doing this stuff. According to the, near Ukraine, Russian heavy-duty armored vehicles and other equipment were unloaded from rail platforms in Belarus as part of planned drills with Belarusian forces. Belarus shares a border with Ukraine, and NATO officials have warned that Russian forces there could threaten the Ukrainian capital. However you say that word, Kyiv. Kiev.
But are you Russian?
Don't worry about it,
Yeah.
comrade.
Yeah, you're fucking dead.
Yeah, dead.
In Crimea, which was annexed by Russia in 2014, this is the area that everybody's super worried about. It's not Ukraine. That whole section of Ukraine has so many goddamn Russian loyalists. It's ridiculous. Anyways, in Crimea, which again annexed in 2014, Russian tanks carried out shooting exercises, further increasing tensions. The Russian contingent in Transnistria, a breakaway region of Moldova, was put on combat alert, which the Russian Defense Ministry claimed was part of a planned exercise. Further maneuvers have been reported in the North Caucasus and in the Ivanovo region near Moscow, where mobile missile launchers like MLRS systems used for intercontinental missiles began patrolling the area. These drills are being carried out amidst rising tensions between NATO and Russia over a possible Russian invasion of Ukraine. And just to be clear, Ukraine is not part of NATO. So
Why does
there's
give a
no
fuck?
there's no legal requirement here for NATO to respond, or especially not for the fucking United States to respond. And by the way, NATO, if you're out there, if you're listening, start paying your fucking bills. You have an agreement to pay a certain percentage of the budget, and you're not doing it, and we're paying all of it. It's just like the UN. We need to shut these organizations down. It's fucking ridiculous.
Just like Fauci.
What about Fauci?
We need to shut his organization down too.
I think we just need to dunk on him,
Let's do it.
like challenge him to a dance competition or something, right? Break dance competition, and then just whip his ass. So the Western response that you've been seeing in the news. U.S. and NATO have made a number of military moves aimed at deterring Russian incursion into Ukraine. Diplomatic talks between the U.S. and Russia were carried out recently in Geneva, Brussels, and Vienna in an effort to de-escalate the confrontation, but ended without any agreement being reached. The U.S. has threatened severe financial and technological sanctions if Russia invades, and said it would consider arming a Ukrainian insurgency to make any Russian occupation an expensive and bloody one. And right now, in addition to the roughly $800 billion defense budget for America, the Democrats in Congress are trying to push through $500 million and just send it to Ukraine.
No.
For whatever, right? I mean, we just sent $300 million to the goddamn Taliban, so we may as well send $500 to Ukraine, right? It's only $800 million more. Who cares? Just money. Doesn't belong to you. Fucking cunts. Defense Secretary,
And what do they think that's going to do for them?
I have no idea.
Like, if we give them money, like, what's that going to do?
Well, I think it's going to be, they're going to use it to buy guns and shit. I would assume.
I believe they just sent a couple 100,000 Javelin missiles, like in the last couple days.
Sweet. I'm sure those will get used against us at any point, right?
No. Yeah, well, we won't ever get those handed to us.
Javelin missiles are dope as fuck, by the way.
They are.
Anyways, Defense Secretary Austin and Joint Chief of Staff Milley, who are unfortunately both still alive, have warned their Russian counterparts that any Russian victory in Ukraine would be followed by a bloody insurgency similar to the one Soviets faced in Afghanistan. It's only kind of true, and it's also only true if America funds the insurgency, which I guess they're telling. I mean, look, Milley always said he would warn his counterparts if we were going to invade. So
Yeah.
there he is doing it.
I'm sure he's already told. Yeah, well, there you go. That's true.
In response to the increasing number of Russian troops near Ukraine, The Pentagon has put 8,500 troops on heightened alert, but as of yet, no deployment orders have been given.
What's
Now,
8,500 troops going to do?
I'm gonna back up here. So at the end of the initial rising tension segment, we talked about all these maneuvers going on in and around Russia, and now we're talking about 8,500 troops. I just want to clarify for anybody that hasn't been involved in this at the policy level yet, or whatever, that this is not in any way out of the ordinary. There's a lot of tough talk going on, a lot of numbers being thrown around, a lot of exercises being talked about. I made a post about it, 2 weeks ago, about these special operations urban guerrilla training going on at Fort Bragg. No, it's Robin Sage, and it happens 6 goddamn times a year, every year since the early 1980s. It's not news. They're not training to come to fucking conservative people's homes and rip them out of their beds at night. But that's what the fucking newspaper wanted you to believe.
Yeah.
And now these assholes want you to believe that Russia doesn't always flex when something's going on. They always do this.
Always.
And the 8,500 troops for the U.S. that are on standby, newsflash, asshole, they were already on standby. It's called Division Ready Force 1, DRF-1, and it's the 82nd Airborne, and a brigade plus some slice elements are always on 18-hour recall. Always. One of the brigades is always on recall. Not only that, there's another brigade that's on 72-hour recall.
The Marine Corps does the same thing.
Yeah. Well, you guys not only have that, but you got Muse.
Yeah.
Right, that are in specific regions.
Yeah.
Waiting for shit to pop off. This is always the case. This is not new. This didn't just happen because of this. Like, they may have made a phone call and be like, hey, tell DRF-1 to learn some fucking Ukrainian maps in case they get deployed somewhere.
Hey, do a gear check.
Do a gear check. Make sure all your fucking C and D bags are at the fucking company and blah, blah, blah.
Make sure all your...
But they already were. If you were doing your job, all this shit's already done.
Make sure all your recall sheets are up to date.
Everybody's getting their shots. During a press conference, Pentagon spokesperson John Kirby, who is a fucking limp dick piece of shit, said, I want to reinforce that as of now, no decision has been made to put these units on higher alert I want to reinforce as of now, the decision has been made to put these units on higher alert and higher alert only. No decision has been made to deploy forces. That doesn't mean anything. There's no higher alert than DRF-1. You can't drink because you are on a literal 2-hour recall.
Yeah.
Right? 2 hours. 2-hour recall. You have to be at the company within 2 hours, and you have to be able to deploy within 18 hours. This is not new. This has always been the case.
Forever.
God damn it, man. Anyways, Biden was briefed by Defense Secretary Austin. I can't imagine what that guy even knows.
Yeah.
On Saturday about U.S. options for responding if Russia does invade Ukraine, as well as for U.S. military movements in advance of an invasion.
But we have a plan for everywhere.
Yeah.
Like it's already done. Like,
yeah, none of this is revelatory at all. Excuse me. Among the options presented for the U.S. military were bomber flights over the region, ships patrolling the Black Sea, along with moving troops and equipment from other parts of Europe into Poland and Romania and other countries neighboring Ukraine. Now, that's like a security guard standing in the way. So if this idiot wants to do something, they have to do it to me and not somebody else. Which is that part's reasonable.
Yeah.
We always in that, like, Russia runs their bullshit, and then we do this on a pretty not a regular basis, but when it happens, this is the way it happens. As the military options were being considered, the State Department ordered family members of embassy employees in Kiev to leave, and also warned Americans not to travel to Ukraine or Russia. I guess I'm going to have to cancel my trip to fucking Ukraine and Russia. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson recently warned that a Russian invasion of Ukraine could lead to the worst bloodshed in Europe since World War II. That's a bit much. That's a bit much. because I'm pretty sure that the Baltic states are part of Europe, and I'm pretty sure Slobodan Milosevic killed a few people. Johnson warned, quote, Russia would create a wasteland in a country which, as she constantly reminds us, is composed of fellow Slavs and Russians. And Russia would never be able to call it peace. Boris Johnson's probably going to be out of a job soon.
Yeah.
It looks like it's the hammer is about to come down on him the same way it did on Bibi in Israel. Over the weekend, Britain accused Vladimir Putin of plotting to install a pro-Russian leader in Ukraine, which exacerbated the geopolitical tensions surrounding Ukraine. By the way, that's really funny that anybody in the West would accuse Putin of trying to install a pro-Russian leader in a country. Like, how many fucking pro-Western leaders has just America installed in countries all over Latin America and the Middle East and everywhere else?
Let's talk about Afghanistan.
Yeah, like, fuck off, dude.
Iraq.
Jesus Christ.
These are your people.
Yeah. The recent accusations made by British officials mark the second time in just over a week that a Western power has publicly accused Russia of covertly undermining Ukraine. Of course they are. But it's a border dispute. This is a border dispute. Like,
what about them undermining our elections?
Yeah, well, nobody seems to care about that anymore. The British claims are another part of a concerted effort by the West to pressure Putin to de-escalate the situation around Ukraine. They're just trying to massage the optics now, so it looks bad if he does something. And I'm not saying that he should or shouldn't. I'm saying it's none of our fucking business.
I mean, I just don't understand, like, why we give a fuck, right? Like, why does it seem like America is trying to push them to fight? You know what I mean?
Maybe they think they're trying to call their bluff right now. But
I mean, they're going to do what the fuck they want to do. Why go ahead and make it worse?
Well, NATO announced on Monday that it was sending ships and fighter jets to Eastern Europe, and that Washington is also making it clear that it's going to increase its military presence in the area, obviously.
I'm sure that's going to help the situation, right?
Probably. I just don't know what the end game is there. For us, I mean,
do you think we would invade? Do you think we would go get on the ground and get busy if Russia invaded Ukraine?
No. I certainly would hope not. I mean, what would be the point? But then again, what was the point of sending ground troops into Afghanistan or Iraq, especially Iraq, but even Afghanistan? What was the point of sending fucking 80,000 people there? Well, to do what? To set up bases and then build partnerships so our partners could shoot us? You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck are we doing here? Those people don't want us there, and we need to start having a much deeper conversation about whether or not we as a society are prepared to fight for and to protect natural resources. Right? So are we going to try to spend our way into a good position and buy partnerships with Chile and Peru and Argentina to get rare earth minerals and spend money building refineries in Guatemala and Mexico? And we built a chip factory, or the chip factory is getting built in Ohio now, back in the Rust Belt, right? So there's industry coming back there. Are we going to spend our way out of this, or are we going to?
But why would we spend over there, and instead of just doing it here?
Well, I mean, we have to get the minerals from somewhere. But why the fuck would we jump into the middle of Russia and China when we could just go south?
Yeah.
To people who need money and give them the money.
Well, because
instead of spending it on defense, you know what I mean? And I understand that defense contractors make a fuckload of money, but it's not like the oil industry doesn't, right? And you got to imagine that the mineral rights and shipment and security for all that stuff is a fucking gold mine, literally. Right? I don't get it. I don't understand.
But war's easier, right? Like you can stock both sides.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that it does speak to that collusion between patricians, no matter what their country is, right, or what their belief system is. They just want to protect the patrician class. Like, as long as we can vacuum as much money up to the top as possible and box out everybody else, we can basically control everything. And you see that kind of rhetoric at the World Economic Forum, right? They're like, you're going to own nothing and you're going to be happy. They literally said that. Like, fuck you, dude. If you want to come take what I own, you better bring some guns.
Yeah,
because I've got a couple.
And it ain't just about bringing some guns. You better be ready to use them.
Yeah. Well, let's see. So people keep asking us about Crimea. Let's talk about that a little bit. Just a sec. The Crimean Peninsula it kind of blocks out. Russia needs access to this stuff. You know what I mean? Like they need to be able to get their resources into Europe.
So what's the issue with Ukraine? Like, why?
Well, it's kind of in the way, right? So they either have to build through there, right? They either have to build pipelines through Afghanistan or they have to sail shit through the Crimean Peninsula. And they're not comfortable doing that unless they control the territory. And that's why we've been at the brink of this Russian-Ukrainian invasion for a long time now. The fear of Russia invading Ukraine is certainly not unfounded. In February and March of 2014, Russia invaded and subsequently annexed the Crimean Peninsula from Ukraine. So it owns that territory and has for 8 years now. On February 27th, 2014, masked Russian troops without insignias on their uniforms took over the Supreme Council of Crimea and captured strategic sites across the peninsula. This led to an installation of a pro-Russian, the name of Sergei Askenov, I don't know, government in Crimea. The conducting of the Crimean status referendum and the declaration of Crimea's independence on March 16th, 2014. So Crimea is now, from their perspective, an independent country loyal to Russia, but the international community still considers it part of Ukraine, although no one's done jack shit to that effect, interestingly enough.
That's weird.
Yeah. Russia formally incorporated Crimea as two federal subjects, the Republic of Crimea and the federal city of Sevastopol on March 18th, 2014. That's pretty quick. So you take the country over February. By March, you federalize two subjects. Not bad. Following the annexation, Russia increased their military presence on the peninsula and leveraged nuclear threats to solidify the new status quo on the ground. Ukraine, along with many other countries, condemned the annexation and considered it to be a violation of international law, and the Russians signed agreements safeguarding the territorial integrity of Ukraine. The Russian government itself has rejected the, quote, annexation label, with Putin defending the referendum as complying with the principle of self-determination of peoples, which is to say Russia's position is that Crimea and Sevastopol wanted this, and Russia just helped them make it happen.
Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't add up. And my point is look, okay, so let's say we go and help Ukraine. Mm. Well, if they can't do it on their own, how long do we have to keep helping Ukraine? And then Russia will just wait until we're done helping Ukraine and take it over. Yeah,
that's a good question. I mean, if John Kirby's position is that if Russia invades, there's going to be an insurgency, the likes of what we saw in Afghanistan and what the Russians saw in Afghanistan. If we go, if indeed it is true, and it very much is true, that there are quite a few Russian loyalists there, and the Russians will continue to back those loyalists, then if we go into Ukraine, we're going to experience the exact same thing. That's the part Kirby left out of his little statement there. And we've just done that.
And I mean, look,
in two different places for the last 20 years.
If a country can't hold its own, it's on them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, we can barely keep our own fucking country together. It sucks.
If you call it together.
Yeah, I mean, but it sucks, but what the fuck, man? Like, what are we supposed to do? I'll tell you what you should do.
I'll tell you, yeah.
Suck my dick. No, that's not right.
Oh.
Shit. Sleep on a ghost bed.
Yeah, so ghost beds, they have a 20-year warranty. They're so badass. Me and Dan, we actually have a double king that's put together with their topper. Tell them about that topper.
Yeah, the mattress topper is dope. It's made out of the same material as the bed, so it's also got the gel and displacement and cooling technology. It's fucking dope as shit.
Yeah, it's got that cooling technology for when we get hot. It comes with two pillowcases.
Yep.
Also, what is it? 30% off on the bundles.
No, it's 40% off on a bundle. So if you
Holy
get a bed and a mattress and an adjustable base, those things plus everything else in your order is 40% off. For everything else, use the code DRINKITBROS. It'll be 30% off.
Dude, 40% off is almost half off.
Yeah.
They have a pay-as-you-go, just a really incredible company. They're always supporting those that support us. Really, you should go over and check their reviews out. I go look at their reviews all the time, and it is hilarious. I love doing puzzles on them. So does Dan. We both do puzzles on them. But go over and check them out, ghostbed.com/drinkinbros.
I don't do puzzles, but I do like ghost beds. Next up, we got a new sponsor, Lucy Nicotine Pouches. You see that?
Hell yeah.
And I love these because, for a number of reasons. One, they're dope, but two, because they have this little thing in the top where you put the pouch in for a while. Whenever you're done for a while, you just stick it back in there, throw it back in your pocket. You don't have to waste it. It's 8 milligrams of nicotine. We're all adults here.
And you like putting stuff in your mouth.
Yeah, I sure do. Yeah, we're all adults here. I know that some of us choose to use nicotine not just to relax, but also to focus and unwind. A lot of people, including you've heard it from the guys over at Black Rifle. You've heard it from Aubrey and Marcus. The effects, the positive effects of nicotine on your body, shit like that. Lucy is a modern oral nicotine company that makes nicotine gum, lozenges, and pouches, which are these right here, for adults who are looking for the best, most responsible way to consume their nicotine. You don't want to put actual nasty shit in your mouth. None of that stuff.
What are you talking about?
No, you don't want that stuff. You don't want your teeth all dirty, and it's just not worth it. It's a new year. Why not start out by switching to a new nicotine product that you can feel good about? When I use them when I'm writing a lot, it gives me a nice jolt of energy. Like I don't know what it is about. We should look into the physiological effects at some point, but we should look into it. But whatever it is, it like narrows my focus.
Dials it in.
Yeah, whatever.
Dials it in.
Yeah, that's a good way to put that, yeah. And the flavors are really good. This is cinnamon, but they have like mango, wintergreen, they have all kinds. If you enjoy, there you go. If you enjoy nicotine, you should definitely check them out. It's lucy.co, lucy.co. That's lucy.co. Use the promo code American. Also have to read this disclaimer warning: this product does contain nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Remember, if you're interested in a better way to use nicotine without some of the negative bullshit, visit lucy.co, and be sure to use the promo code American. If you're a truck driver, a ball player, go to sports, and you can gut this stuff too if you're wondering.
Gut it.
Yeah.
What's that mean?
Not spit. Especially the gum. I mean, when I use the gum, I bite it and just put it in my lip.
Do you have to?
No, it's pouches, and you can't even do it right.
I can do it right.
You look like an asshole.
Kidding me? You are an asshole.
That's true, but you look like one. It's the taste is really fucking good too.
Really?
Yeah. I think Jack Mandeville had one on Drinker Bros last week, the mango one. And it's like, wow, this really tastes like mangoes. I'm like, yeah. That's why it says it on the box there, guy. Yeah, the promo code's American now, guys. Can you plug the pouches? I don't know what that means. but if it's somebody in our audience asking, it probably has something to do with butts. So let's move on before we get ourselves in trouble. All right?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
You don't use it. So it's 8 milligrams. It's not meant to stay in there the whole time. You put it in a little bit.
I'm about to eat it.
All right. Well, I guess I'll be doing the show myself from now on. So let's get into some more background. Ukraine-Russian relations historically. Ukraine was part of the Russian, and again, most of this show, I know it's kind of tedious, but most of this is just to give you a good base, a good background for what we're going to be getting into on Friday, which is how corrupt Joe Biden is. The narrative has changed on him. When we first started, when he first started campaigning, before we saw him in public a lot and realized that he had no idea where he was half the time. It was, why is your son so corrupt? Why is all this weird shit going on with you? Blah, blah, blah. Now it's like he's back to being Sleepy Joe and everybody's forgotten about how corrupt he is. So we're going to get back into that. So Ukraine was and again, I'm going back to the background here just so you guys have info on the next show. Ukraine was part of the Russian Empire for centuries before becoming a Soviet republic and subsequently won independence when the USSR broke up in 1991. It has since moved to shed its Russian imperial legacy and forge increasingly close ties with the West. In 2014, Kremlin-friendly Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych, man, I can't say these Slavic names, rejected an agreement with the EU in favor of closer ties with Moscow, and that led to widespread protests and his ultimate removal from office. Of course, that year is the same year that Crimea got taken over. So the removal of Yanukovych led to Russia annexing the Crimean Peninsula and throwing its weight behind a separatist rebellion that broke out in eastern Ukraine. Ukrainian Western officials accused Russia of sending troops and weapons back to the rebels, which Moscow has obviously denied, saying Russians who joined the separatists were volunteers. Now, they're both probably right. They were probably volunteers, and Russia probably sent troops and money and guns. To date, more than 14,000 people have died in the fight. That is taking place in Dobas, D-O-B-A-S, Ukraine's eastern industrial heartland. Moscow has repeatedly criticized the U.S. and its NATO allies for providing Ukraine with weapons and holding joint drills, saying that such moves encourage Ukrainian officials to try and regain the rebel-held areas by force. Vladimir Putin has also repeatedly said Ukraine's aspirations to join NATO are a red line and expressed concern about plans by some NATO members to set up military training centers in Ukraine. Now, that's an interesting comment by Putin. I don't know why the self-determinism of Ukraine and them choosing to join NATO would be a red line. You know what I mean? Like, it's really none of your fucking business, bro. But there is something to be said for the fact that...
But why can't they just work a deal out?
Why? I'm sure that's what happens on a regular basis, right? Like, they just have micro deals, and they're punting, trying to find a bigger deal at some point. But it seems like the West wants Ukraine to stay independent, and it also seems like quite a few people inside the Ukraine don't want to. They want to go back to Russia.
So why do we give a fuck? Why do we give a fuck if Ukraine is independent? Like, what?
Because it's an easy way. It's like putting your fucking foot on the door to stop somebody from opening it. Like, it's not really going to stop them if they want to, but they have to try super hard to do it. And if they try super hard to do it, it's going to be obvious what their intentions are. And Russia isn't really keen on exposing their intentions to the world. They don't like doing that.
But why should they?
Why should they care?
Why should they we shouldn't expose their intentions to the world. Like,
no, I'm not criticizing them for it. I'm just saying that it's a strategy that the West is using. They're just trying to put a little roadblock in the way so that Russia can't just do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah, so it's like being annoying.
Yeah, it's like containment. The first stage of the Cold War was called containment, right? And it is where we fought micro wars all over the place. The Bay of Pigs, all this other stupid shit. All the wars in Latin America to stop the spread of communism. It was a complete failure. Like a complete failure. Containment is always a failure. Because you just can't fight it like that.
Like it's either you fucking go fight it to get rid of it. It's like clear hole build, right? You
Yeah.
don't remember that, do you? Like it's like you either go fucking get rid of it, or you don't fight it.
Yeah.
Like do you go in? Yeah. Fuck.
I mean, sometimes it makes more sense to let an army get itself organized before you attack. Because fighting an army is a lot easier than fighting an insurgency. And we've known that for a long time, by the way. We've known that since the 1980s. Like we've personally, America's known that because we fought several insurgencies. Excuse me. So what are Russia's goals exactly? The possible invasion of Ukraine seems to be largely influenced by state security, part of which relies on Ukraine not becoming a member of NATO. That's why they consider it a red line. A list was sent to U.S. officials in December last year, which included demands such as the following: NATO must deny membership to Ukraine and any other ex-Soviet countries and roll back the deployment of troops and weapons in Central and Eastern Europe. They also requested a ban on sending U.S. and Russian warships and aircraft to areas where they can attack each other's territory, as well as a halt to NATO military drills near Russia's border. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, stupid name, rejected Russia's demands to rescind a 2008 commitment to Ukraine that the country would one day become a member. Russia has also demanded that NATO withdraw from Eastern Europe, and Putin is seeking guarantees.
NATO is fucking stupid anyways.
It is, yeah, but I mean, I happen to think that the members of NATO are more or less controlled by the oligarchs in their countries. In America, it would be all the defense and tech money that flows in and out of Congress.
NATO's are kind of like the unions.
Well,
NATO just like it's like we're the only ones that pretty much abide by it.
I mean, it's like UN.
Yeah.
It's a completely fucking toothless organization.
It's so fucking stupid. Like what's NATO going to do to you?
Russia demanded that NATO withdraw from Eastern Europe, and Putin is seeking guarantees that would exclude any further NATO moves eastward and the deployment of weapon systems that threaten us in close vicinity to Russian territory. I mean, that's a fair point.
That's a fair point. I mean,
like if that we're talking about the Bay of Pigs right now. Mm-hmm. We didn't want Russia to put nuclear weapons in Cuba, right? If all of a sudden Russia deployed to Mexico and started like having military drills and putting tanks on the border and shit, we'd be like, hey, can you guys knock it off, please? Because that sucks. Like that's a pretty reasonable fucking response.
That's
to be
an
honest.
issue. That's an issue.
Like Putin's a cunt and all, but that's a pretty reasonable fucking response.
But do you think, I don't know, like for me, we've fought in war, and I just don't know what to believe of who's doing what, right? Like you just don't know what to fucking believe. I mean, we just literally.
I mean, it's all spin, right?
We just it's how the United States wants to paint it, right?
Yeah.
And
I mean, we can't even trust our.
I mean,
we can't trust our media to tell us what's going on in our own country,
dude. Exactly. Like we just fought the Taliban because we're over here, and then now we're giving them our fucking money.
Yeah. Well, only $90 billion. Come on, man. And equipment. I'm sorry, we gave them $300 million and just money. By the way, 9/11, $500,000. That's how much it cost to pull off. What do you think they can do with $300 million? Probably a question that somebody should have fucking asked before they signed that check. Putin has agreed to engage the West in negotiations, but he added that Moscow would not need just verbal assurances, but legal guarantees as well, which I think is, see, we're talking about the Monroe Doctrine. President Monroe, in an address to Europe, basically said that colonization is over. Right? We're done with this bullshit. And it was directed towards Europe.
Yeah.
He said, we're not going to get involved in any kind of stupid bullshit that's going on. And it's why it was so hard for us to get into World War I and to some degree World War II as well. Monroe said, we're not going to involve ourselves in the affairs of Europe, but the Americas belong to us. And if you come over here and start trying to set up fucking military bases and colonize places, we're going to fuck you up.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what Vladimir Putin is saying right now. Now, it might be, and definitely is, I suppose, very unfortunate for Ukrainians who don't want to live under Russian rule. But, you know, frankly, there's a lot of people in America that don't want to live under American rule either. And it would be a very drastic situation for Russia to start opining on the domestic policy of America and moving troops around to that effect. That would be considered an act of war. So what are we doing here?
Well, the one aspect that I didn't understand was, like, so I understand, I mean, you know, the shit that's going over in Russia right now with the Ukraine, and, like, obviously they got issues. But what's this deal? I mean, I was reading some stuff about Cuba. How's Cuba getting involved with this, right? Like, what is Russia trying to do with Cuba?
Right now?
Yeah.
I mean, they've had a relationship since the early 1950s, I think. And Cuba's communist still, technically, right? And Russia's not really communist anymore, but they're close enough.
Yeah.
They still have those old ties. So, you know, and that's kind of like a thorn in our side. You know what I mean? Like, we know that Cuba's down there and they're annoying and shit, but they're no real threat to us unless Russia gets involved. And it's also, Cuba's also the source of our probably our greatest intelligence failure of all time.
Yeah. Dude, Russia is huge.
All right, let's see. So people are talking about NATO now. Let's talk about Ukraine-NATO relations. And by the way, somebody, I don't know who it was in the chat, said that U.S. and NATO have no intention of letting Ukraine become a NATO country. You're absolutely right about that. They're just doing this to be a thorn to Russia. There's no fucking way Ukraine becomes a NATO country, especially not now. They would have to win. They would have to fight a military war against Russia and win their own independence, and they would have to take over Crimea as well and do the same for us to allow them into NATO. Because otherwise, why would you accept a country into your fucking defense organization that can't defend themselves? That doesn't make any sense, dude.
None.
That's like having Russell Westbrook join the Lakers. That was a mistake, by the way. Cut him. Cut him and eat the cap space. Just cut him. Anyways, so Ukraine-NATO relations. Ukraine is not currently a member of NATO, obviously, but is considered a, quote, partner of the alliance, which is fucking nonsense. That doesn't mean anything. While they appear to be seeking membership, and we're back in 2006, I think, or 2008, we're guaranteed. NATO told Ukraine, like, one day you're going to be a member. Like, they literally said that. Literally, one day you're going to be a member. We'll get there. Hell yeah, man. And Ukraine's like, hey, what's up, bro?
Yeah.
It's like,
please.
It's like NATO owes Ukraine fucking $500. And they keep calling, like, hey, you got that money? Like, yeah, we're going to get it, man. Big time.
One day.
Yeah.
One day you're going to get it.
While they appear to be seeking membership, NATO has stated that Kiev needs to root out corruption among their officials. Also true, Ukraine is one of the most corrupt countries on earth. NATO Secretary General Stoltenberg, who we mentioned before, has maintained that when the time comes to consider membership, Russia will not be able to veto Ukraine's accession. I don't know what he means by that. Hopefully what he means is that Russia won't be in a position to do that, not that they won't have the right to, because one of those implies that Ukraine's taking care of itself, and the other one implies that we're just going to fucking tell Russia to go fuck itself and start a war. Dialogue between Ukraine and NATO officially began in 1991 after the wall fell. It has since joined the North Atlantic Cooperation Council and the Partnership for Peace program, two things no one's ever fucking heard of. In 1997, relations were strengthened further with the signing of the Charter on a Distinctive Partnership, which establishes the NATO-Ukraine Commission. The 2009 declaration to complement the NATO-Ukraine Charter mandated the NUC to underpin Ukraine's efforts to move forward with reforms aimed at implementing Ukraine's Euro-Atlantic aspirations. In response to the Russia-Ukraine conflict, NATO has reinforced its support for the capability development and capacity building in Ukraine. NATO has promised not to recognize Russia's illegal annexation of Crimea and its destabilizing efforts in eastern Ukraine and the Black Sea region.
So again, I still like, even after all this, I don't see what is, for America, what is the upside to us keeping, like, to helping Ukraine? Like, what is the upside?
The upside, I mean,
Like, what is the strategic aspect of that?
well, we'll talk about why the real estate itself is strategic, but you can see from these statements that NATO is saying, yeah, you can join the club when you get your fucking shit together.
So even NATO's,
but that is a goal that is clearly out of the reach of Ukraine, right? Because of Russian interference, they will never be not corrupt, ever.
Yeah.
And it's not just because of the Russian government interference, it's because of the turns the Russian economy took after the Cold War ended. There was no, like, all the military commanders basically became a fucking black market for guns, drugs, prostitution, all sorts of stuff, right? It became a mob, right? So, and they all report to the fucking oligarchs over there. So the mob just pushed into Ukraine at the earliest possible convenience and started mobbing it up too. And now most of the leaders over there are, if not loyal to fucking Russia, are compromised by them, right? It's just that NATO set a goal they know the Ukraine can't meet, just so they can keep them dangling out there. You know what I mean? It's in 2020, Ukrainian President Volodymyr, which I don't think you're supposed to say that name.
why?
Voldemort. Oh, God. Man,
Read a book. God damn.
You're a fucking loser. Volodymyr Zelensky approved a new nation security strategy, which helps provide, which helps develop a partnership and eventual membership in NATO. So it's like a Gantt chart, I guess, where if you meet these 7 criteria and you're the primary and you're the secondary, it's all nonsense. It's never going to happen. We're just going to keep them hanging, right? Boy. But this is kind of, I mean, it reminds me of the way that the Democratic Party has used the black community in America. You know what I mean? Like, you keep giving people handouts, but never allow them to get too good. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't help them start businesses or get educated or anything. You just give them enough to just eke by. That way they'll stay loyal to you. And that's what America and NATO are trying to do to Ukraine.
Yeah. Just so, yeah. I mean,
it's very unethical. Like, it's not just about America shouldn't go into Ukraine and get involved in this shit. It is that the level of involvement that NATO and America have had so far has been completely unethical, the way we've treated this situation. It's absolute nonsense. All right, now let's talk about, and again, this will close out the show, and this has all been background for what we're going to talk about on Friday. By taking Ukraine, Russia would gain easy access to the Black Sea, which plays an integral part in the connection between Asia and Europe. According to NATO, the Black Sea is a strategic corridor that provides smuggling channels for moving legal and illegal goods, including drugs, radioactive materials, and counterfeit goods. You see how they try to throw in nuclear, bio stuff? Mm-hmm. Doesn't that sound really familiar?
Yeah.
Does it remind you of Colin Powell in front of the UN with a little vial of fake anthrax? There's a little bit. It'll get you, man. Yellow cake. Hell yeah. Doesn't it sound exactly the same? Jesus fucking, we just did this shit. Yeah. God damn it, man. The Black Sea also holds massive reserves of petroleum in the sea's western portion along the Ukrainian coast, which they would obviously seek to drill for. Russia also seeks to project power and influence in the Mediterranean, protect its economic and trade links with European markets, and make Southern Europe more dependent on Russian oil and gas, which is not a dumb strategy, by the way.
No.
The Black Sea is the only means for Russians to access the Mediterranean and beyond, both for military operations and exporting hydrocarbons. Due to the combination of geography and politics, Russia's access to the wider Mediterranean region is limited. Excuse me. The Mediterranean is currently dominated by NATO, but Russia hopes to gain more political influence, economic influence, and military influence through the natural resources they have, and they could also take there, and strategic importance of the Black Sea, although Crimea and the southern Russian port city, man, I can't say
it, Dan. Say it.
Novorossiysk, snake.
I think you get it. Yeah.
Provide the Russian Navy and tankers with access to warm water ports. All ships entering and leaving the Black Sea must pass through Turkish-controlled straits at this time. Under the 1936 Monroe Convention, Turkey allows civilian ships to pass through the straits in peacetime and places some restrictions on military vessels not belonging to Black Sea littoral states, which Russia is not. Russia has long been concerned about Turkey's ability to use the straits as a chokehold during conflict. Moscow has attempted to strengthen diplomatic relations with Turkey through weapons sales and the construction of a power plant and diplomatic support through the 2016 coup against Turkish President Recep. I don't know how you say his first name, but Erdogan. Annexing Ukraine would help Russia gain increased diplomatic and economic leverage over Turkey, as Russia would be less dependent on Turkish trade routes. Having control of Ukraine would also give Russia increased protection from NATO incursion into the Russian heartland or Crimea, and the Black Sea's proximity to Russia makes it an ideal area for NATO and U.S. forces to deploy both sea and land-based weapons platforms.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, which I know you will. It sounds like to me that Turkey, Europe, they got a lot more interest in not letting this happen than we fucking do.
I mean, yeah, this is control of Ukraine would give Russia a strategic point from which to launch attacks against NATO or U.S. forces attempting to stage troops and equipment in the Black Sea. Theoretically.
Yeah, theoretically.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But that's like saying the United States putting a military base in Mexico would help us stop incursions from Guatemala. Like, yeah, technically. But is that necessary? And is
that's
it
like saying putting troops on the border will stop people from coming over.
Well, that would actually work.
Technically, but they're down there and we're not using it. It's like, it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. Like, why, again, like, if we send people over there, it's insane. This has nothing to do with us.
No. I mean, it's
nothing to do with us.
People still have this Cold War ideology. And it's funny because when Mitt Romney said in the 2012 presidential election that he thought Russia was our number one foreign adversary, the left lit his ass up and said, "What do you think? It's 1990? Get out of here."
Yeah.
Like this is that what you're saying is crazy. You're still stuck in the Cold War. Well, all these Democrats funding a $500 million goddamn deal to Ukraine and trying to start a fucking war over there seems like maybe they're up to something. You know what I mean? It seems like they're trying to start some shit. Turkey, NATO, and the Black Sea states.
And how long do we stay? Like, at what point? Like, what is our end goal? Right? Like, this is the point I want to know. And what's the end goal? Like, at what point do we pull back out? Right? I mean, like, or is it just another endless pit like Iraq and Afghanistan?
I think that's a pretty good question to ask. Like, if there were to be a foreign incursion, what would be the desired end state where we know we're done and we can leave? I don't think there is one.
Well, no, there's not. Like, but you get in there and you're going to be there forever.
And there will be an insurgency forever, right? In the same way that Russia backed all kinds of different parties in Afghanistan, and so did Pakistan. I mean, it is. Someone in the chat there made a good point. If World War III were to kick off, Ukraine would be an important spot, and the Crimean Peninsula would be an important spot. But to be frank, if there's a World War III, it's probably going to go nuclear, and we're all fucked anyways.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure you really want to plan for that.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. There's no fucking reason for America to be getting involved in this. Like when I brought up Mitt Romney, the reason I did is because we're not in a Cold War anymore with Russia. Russia is a minor threat, and we're letting them pretend to be a major one so we can spend dollars. Like there's not going to be a military incursion with China because China operates by buying land and stealing our technology and selling shit. Frankly, they're using the economy and technology to do this and not military incursion. So it's harder for us to make money on that. But military stuff, sending foreign aid to countries, that's a super good way to hide money. You know what I mean? Every now and again, a pallet with $100 million in cash just falls off the back of a fucking truck somewhere. And that's a lot easier to steal than technology,
Yep.
frankly. So that's where we are now. That's where we are. We're still stuck in this mindset, or the left in this country is still stuck in this mindset that if it's good for Russia, then it's bad for us.
Yep.
And maybe at some level that's true, but I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Dude, Jesus
Fuck
Christ.
that.
Can we do this? Can we get to a point in our own country where people aren't getting arrested for taking their children into a museum without a vaccination card first?
Yep.
Where we prosecute people who murder people, where we prosecute people who do $2 billion worth of damage to our country because they're fucking engaged in violent, terroristic fucking protests. Can we do any of this stuff before we're worried about what the fuck Russia's doing
Yeah.
in the Black Sea? Maybe. I don't know. But I doubt it. And we'll see it how.